Today we're running out extra deep again on the yellowfin, scouting new spots, which one ended up being a small sunken boat, recovering rocked up grouper, and exploring an old cargo ship that's been resting in 187 feet for 34 years. Let's get it.
Good start to the day.
The number one thrill that most of us search for when diving is the fact that you never know what you're gonna see. Each time we drop, there's always a chance that the unknown will be the next forever memory or money spot for fishing. But along with that unknown comes danger. Let's be honest, it's the ocean, Earth's final frontier, where humans aren't necessarily at the top of the food chain. Nevertheless, we go and we dive to satisfy our thirst for the salt water, the next adrenaline rush, and the opportunity to see things that can only be seen by dropping and descending on the unknown. Just like the first spot we stopped at. There was a decent show, but it wasn't one we like to see. It was enough to make us curious, and I was already geared up. I was burning up from being topside, so I was going no matter what. So this was one of those dives that, by the look of the bottom machine, no one got real excited about it, but it was good enough to where it was intriguing, but it wasn't like a fireworks display on the bottom machine. But it was my turn in the rotation, and I was boiling topside because it was so dang hot. So I jumped in, and my buddy Jimmy Wells jumped in also with me. He had a little problem with his ears equalizing, so he had to stay up in the water column a little bit, but this ended up being a small boat wreck in 192 feet. Really wasn't anything around it, so per se, tons of American red snapper, as you can see, but all between 20 and 25 inches long. No trophies or anything like that, and being that it was my first dive of the day, I find myself being pretty choosy. I'm a pretty picky guy anyway when it comes to spearfishing. I'm just not going to drop down and just try and shoot every fish on the ledge that I see. That's not very good practice, and I don't think anybody on the boats that I go on are like that. It's just not it's not very sportsmanlike. First dive of the day, you just never know what you're going to drop on. We were all thinking ledge, and it ended up being a small wreck. We'll keep it in the bottom machine and maybe drop on it another time for ARSs or something along that line. And looking over in the water column, it looks like Jimmy, even though he had some ear issues to start out the day, he still was able to shoot what was, I don't know, 25, 26 inch American red snapper.
Yep. Good start to the day. I got shit. There's a wreck. Yeah, about a 24-foot boat.
It just goes to show that you never know what's down there, and you can't just go off your bottom machine. Sometimes you just gotta get down there and check it out. A little later, Jeffrey and Jimmy made a drop. Jeffrey tagged a good-sized black grouper, but it rocked itself up. He couldn't get it pulled out. Jimmy came over, tried to help. They ran out of time. They had to come up, so Jeffrey leaves his spear gun attached to the spear that's in the black grouper and hangs his safety sausage and blows it up. Mark the spot of the ledge where the grouper's at. So Mike and I are next up in the rotation, so it's our task to go down and recover Jeffrey's grouper. So this was the grouper extraction dive that Mike and I did after Jeffrey came up, left his gun and his safety sausage all attached to the grouper to mark the hole. And as we're heading down, I'm just kind of scanning the bottom. Mike kind of has a better idea where he's going, so he's going straight to the cave where the grouper's at, and I happen to find this other cave that I'm gonna just check out real fast before I head over to to see if I can help Mike out. You get down there, you look at this stuff from the top, and you think it's going to be crazy and cut way back, and then sometimes, though, you just get down there and it's not. This time it really didn't amount to much, so I head over to see what all Mike's getting into, and it looks like he is already hard at work. I think he had, at this point, already put a second shaft in the grouper that is rocked up way up underneath there. I believe we're roughly, this dive, we're somewhere in the 170 foot range. Mike's trying to strip down all the extra gear that he doesn't need. So basically what I'm going to do is he wants me to grab the safety sausage in the gun and kind of help pull it out. I put a little bit more air in the safety sausage just to make sure she's got enough pull going up. Mike starts pulling this grouper out. I've got one line, he's got the other. We're both kind of pulling out. And here she goes. Just kind of pull it out and push it up, and up the water column she goes, and it'll float up next to the boat, and they'll come and get it. And Jeffrey has his 40-pound black grouper. So we're coming up in the water column. Mike's got his shark radar on. He sees them all the time, and he sees another one here. Kind of gives me the shark signal. Big shark swimming around us, if you didn't catch those hand signals. And sure enough, there he was. And on to the next.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome job, guys. Awesome job.
The ROATAN Express is a 180-foot cargo ship built in 1973 that would haul goods between Honduras to Tampa and back and forth. In September of 1992, the ROATAN Express leaves Tampa en route back south to Honduras, develops a leak, and sinks around 80 miles offshore of Fort Myers. 2 casualties came from this wreck, which was the captain and 1 passenger. She's intact, upright, sitting in 187 feet of water. This wreck holds everything of all sizes. All bets are off. You never know what you're going to see in the ocean, and you never know what you're going to see on big wrecks like this. Gary and I are up in the rotation, and it just so happens that wreck diving is at the very top of my fun list when it comes to this type of stuff, and I am stoked and ready to hit the water for this one. The last dive of the day is definitely the best dive of the day for me. Gary Hendricks and I drop on the ROATAN Express. It's a pretty deep wreck, and you know you're on a wreck, a big wreck, when you see thousands of barracuda in the water column, and that's exactly what we had. We had all kinds of life in the water column. Barracudas, bull sharks, a couple of other different species of sharks that I'm not sure exactly what they were. Goliath grouper, a little bit of everything up in the water column. Shark right there. Just letting Gary know. And we are ascending on the ROATAN Express. If you look to your right, you'll see, God, that thing was probably 800 to 1,000 pound Goliath grouper swimming right beside me, just a little bit ahead there. if you look down to your bottom right side, you'll see 3 or 4 or 5 other giant jewfish, just giants, along with amberjack and permit and just a little bit of everything going on down there. Kind of getting us, try to get a little bit under the boat, but my dive computer was screaming at me because I was on a 26 mix, I believe. So I kind of decided to stay up on top, take a shot at a school of permit. They were coming by and it just wasn't to be had. I'm kind of glad that that I didn't get the fish there, because with the time that I had at the bottom here, by the time I got that fish on the stringer, it's probably be time to go back up with what I had going on with my dive computer. So I just kind of decided to go ahead and explore, try to get to the front of the boat, or as close to the front of the boat as I can before I had to go up. The crazy thing about this wreck is how intact it is. It even has a lot of the cargo still on the deck. That was what I believe was some sort of 18-wheeler or dump truck or dually of some sort. Frame and axle and wheels, tires still there. Having a little issue with my flashlight. It showed that it was good, the battery was good, but it just wasn't bright enough. So was going to try to look under there to see if there were any Kubera snappers or anything at all. Just couldn't see, so decided to move on. Another big Goliath just hanging out. The ROATAN is known as a very sharky dive. Sharks are always going to be hanging around wrecks. I mean, they're food sources here. I mean, you can see all the fish in the water column all the way up to the top and to down. And right now I'm in the center of the cargo ship, kind of where everything was stored on top. Definitely putting the Insta360 X3 to the test. I've got it attached to my gun, and just to get the footage, but the dive case is only rated for 164 feet, and I'm about 170 here. I did take it to 192 earlier, so they definitely can exceed their limitations. Up here on the crow's nest, it sits about 45 feet above the wreck itself. swim through the wheelhouse would be really cool here. I just didn't have enough time. So I am heading up. Pretty eerie. Definitely highly recommend this dive to anyone who is cool with diving deeper and likes to see wrecks. This is definitely a must dive boat. Heading back up in the water column as my NDL goes to 0. Back up with all the barracuda.
Yeah, that was badass.